in our region here, too, as we get on into the next couple of minutes. Because, I mean, let's zoom in.
I don't know
right
how
now
long,
at that radar sensor.
Yeah, I don't know how long we've been on the air, but how many different communities have been hit in the, roughly hour we've been on the air?
And
The National Weather Service in Charleston, West Virginia has issued a tornado warning for Calhoun County in north-central West Virginia, east-central Mason County in western West Virginia, southeastern Ritchie County in northwestern West Virginia, northwestern Gilmer County in north-central West Virginia, Wirt County in northwestern West Virginia, Roane County in central West Virginia, Jackson County in northwestern West Virginia, until 11:45 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. At 11:03 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, severe thunderstorms capable of producing both tornadoes and extensive straight-line wind damage were located along a line extending from near Ravenswood to near Buffalo, moving east at 65 miles per hour. Hazard, tornado. Source, radar-indicated rotation. Impact, flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed. Damaged.
in those places. Well, the safest place to be in a tornado or in this scenario is the lowest floor of a sturdy structure, a windowless room. You want to protect yourself from the potential of flying debris, and you want to just simply stay put until it's all clear. The good news is this line is very thin. I mean, we're not talking about waiting an hour under this. This goes through, you see that line from one to the other? Very, very quick. Now, it doesn't mean it stops raining. You see this yellow going back toward Huntington? We've been hearing rumbles of thunder, and we've been taking some raindrops as well. I wouldn't be surprised you end up with a flash flood in these scenarios when you keep that rain coming, especially in urban stream scenarios. But where you don't want to be is certainly outside. You don't want to be thinking about this is your time to make a drive. With tornado warnings, you're frankly not safe in mobile homes. But at this point, if you're in the path of the storm, there may be nothing you can do about it at that point, which is why we try to let you know as early as possible when you want to take shelter or think ahead like we do with these other first alert weather days. So this is something that we're going to continue to watch as it comes across. It's moving very quickly at, say, 50 or 60 miles an hour, and we're going to be continuing to see these kinds of threats go forward here into the afternoon because we're not done with that as it comes through. So you can still see that we're going to be looking at these lines coming toward Clay in just a half an hour. Let's go ahead and look at our next camera here. That's toward Route 119 in Kanawha County.
It's showing the heavy rain, but you can actually see the road, which is an improvement from when we were just looking at it a moment ago. It's moved that fast that it's already passing Corridor G. You mentioned that it was going toward Madison and Boone County, and that would be next on the hit list there of where this storm is headed. I also just got to look at the camera online, a Facebook post of what's going on the 31st Street Bridge in Huntington. And it looks as though, seriously, the wind just knocked a whole big truck over on the edge of the 31st Street Bridge wall and blocked all traffic. And they're going to have to get out there and fix it. And trust me, every single county in our coverage area is about to have damage that they'll need help with trees down, power lines down, all kinds of debris in roads and on buildings, like the tree that came down on the car right in front of our own studio. And there won't be other counties that can come in and help because every single county is going to have the help needed. And so this is going to be stretching resources thin to help pick this up once it goes through. And remember, got to stress this. This is the first of other rounds coming. We are not out of the woods just yet, Brandon.
Yeah, that's right, Rob. And in fact, I wanted to point out that after this first line of storms comes through right in here that we have been tracking, this yellow indicates still of active rain and thunder. This would be the kind of situation that only emergency crews should get out and mess with. Once you get to the other side of that, it's a lot easier here toward Portsmouth, toward Vanceburg, the same kind of places that were dealing with that severe weather not too long ago, frankly, with the speed of this storm. But I want to show you the overall threat matrix remains where you're looking at the fast winds here as far as the zone for those strongest storms still exists. And notice how Charleston's not even in the heaviest zone despite getting some of those stronger storms right now. You don't have to be in the strongest zone with the highest risk to get strong thunderstorms. But this kind of red zone, that moderate zone, isn't the kind of thing we see every year. It's an every other year kind of thought, or even more rare than that, that situation is where we're going to be on these kinds of haunches for severe weather. But I wanted to show you as well, as that line comes through, look what happens. We may even see some of that sunshine come in and reload that atmosphere before the next round of storms comes in as well. Because this front, the system that is really fostering all of this is way off toward the west. And it won't be until that thing finishes through that we're going to be done with that severe weather risk. And you can see new storms forming along it already. And those will have time to reload. And then they come through. This is why this is going to be a very active day, even though we've already had our fair share, to say the least, of storms already during this event, Rob.
Just got word of a crash. I-64 South Charleston, unfortunately with injuries, they're telling us. That's the first one on I-64 we heard of a crash. Not the only crash in the area, of course, but I-64 handles so much more traffic than any other road in our region, which is why we want to mention that this is absolutely going to slow down traffic. A single vehicle crash is what they're saying. Again, mile marker 54, I-64 in the eastbound direction at South Charleston. Also, I can tell you a personal story. The woman who comes on our midday news every Wednesday and tells us about the pet of the week, Stephanie Howell from Little Victories. She was at Little Victories, which is very close to Cabell Midland High School in the eastern part of Cabell County, kind of, sort of, toward Ona. And she said she was at the Little Victories farm and tried to come out of it, and there's a line, an electric line, a power line, a cable line, she doesn't know, a line that is now blocking Route 60 near, let me tell you, the Pepsi plant, not far from where Cabell Midland High School is, that's apparently blocking traffic for her right now. We hadn't gotten word of that, but she's seeing it, and it's blocking her path. So that was from Stephanie Howell from Little Victories. We're also getting word of other crashes, too. 5th Street Hill in Huntington had a tree come down. We just got a picture back from this. 5th Street Hill is the main connector that gets you from Huntington, south side of Huntington, downtown Huntington, up to I-64. And so a hugely traveled area, and I don't think anybody's going to be traveling around that tree. I can't even make out where the road is, so I'm not exactly sure where that tree came down and whether that's blocking a road, but still trying to get my bearings on that. But again, that looked like a very large tree. That was not a Bradford pear tree at all.
I've been hearing
Tell me again, the roof of what came off?
Fairland Elementary School. That's what I'm hearing. Fairland West.
Oh my! Roof of Fairland Elementary apparently
Parts.
got peeled back. Yeah, not lifted off the building. And we apparently are trying to get you some pictures of that too. But again, this is the kind of power this is bringing.
Yeah, and it's essentially all the way down the line. So that's why we wanted you to take this idea of a tornado warning for this line of storms all the way along the whole thing. Because from, say, northward to Parkersburg, all the way down through Spencer and Charleston. Now, the heaviest of the storms has left eastward of the Charleston area, but we still got a lot more to go through from Madison on southward here. So as far as where we have been watching, this goes until 11:45 in the morning, but it's right in there. Now you can see the newest one has been just issued, tornado warnings for Clay County, Nicholas County. These are all in the expectation from what we have been seeing. These tornado warnings were issued out to the west. They followed the same line of storms going eastward here, and now you can see that the heaviest of those storm rains are out toward Pinch right now. I mean, you're not even talking a minute to get to Clendenin at this point, not with a 55-mile-an-hour propagation speed, and that's why the winds can be at least that fast, 60 miles an hour, and we've already been seeing those kinds of wind reports. So if we move that forward here by about 50 miles an hour, you're talking about being past Clay not too long from now, just in 20 minutes time from Clay, and then moving east. So the good news is this storm line will be out of our broadcast area within the hour, but we're not done yet.
The National Weather Service in Charleston, West Virginia has issued a tornado warning for southeastern Calhoun County in north-central West Virginia, western Nicholas County in southeastern West Virginia, northeastern Connaught County in central West Virginia, southwestern Braxton County in north-central West Virginia, southern Roane County in central West Virginia, Clay County in north-central West Virginia, northwestern Fayette County in southeastern West Virginia, until 11:45 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. At 11:15 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, severe thunderstorms capable of producing both tornadoes and extensive straight-line wind damage were located along a line extending from 6 miles east of Kennett near Coal Fork to 7 miles southwest of Marmet, moving east at 70 miles per hour. Hazard, tornado. Source, radar indicated rotation. Impact, flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed. Damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles will occur. Tree damage is likely. These dangerous storms will be near Chesapeake, Marmet, Bell, Clendenin, Cedar Grove, East Bank, Glasgow, Pratt, Coal Fork, and Pinch around 11:20 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Montgomery, Smithers, Powellton, Emma, and Glen around 11:25 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Clay, Gully Bridge, Walback, and Big Otter around 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Other locations impacted by these tornadic storms include Wyden, Nebo, Frametown, Strange Creek, Wilsey, Bickmore, Tariff, Pocious, Servia, and Middleton.
For issuing a tornado warning is to be very cautious of, and that's what we'll be watching. It's kind of like sticking an oar in the water. When you push that through, you get a lot of little swirlies on the outside edges, and that's what we'll be watching as we push this line through the region. But these are going to be very gusty winds, because if you imagine within the cloud, loaded with water, tons in terms of actual weight coming down from the clouds. And just like tipping over a piece of plywood, when you tip that rain down, it compresses the air that it's falling into and pushes it out in front. So that's where you end up in a whole long line here of these faster wind totals. You can see when you get up to those purples and pinks, that's where you end up with those faster wind totals here, and that's what we'll be watching. But there's always that potential.
Yeah, Brandon, the radar is measuring 88 miles an hour wind there.
And that's not surprising at all, considering we already had a gust reported earlier in Boyd County and at Tri-State Airport of 90 miles an hour. Now, we are hoping that the sensors are messed up in those fast readings, but we experience very fast winds coming through our region. Yeah. We're just hearing these warnings. They're just coming along fast and furious. The idea
They're driving as fast, and you mentioned this earlier, as fast as an interstate traveling car. We came on at 9:30 this morning when you were first warning us that Moorhead, Kentucky was at issue. And now it's already to Spencer, West Virginia. It's moving that fast.
Yeah, and I want to zoom out a little bit on the radar to get a look at how long a line this is, because the entire line is starting to fill up with these tornado warnings. Radar indicated, but at the same time, I want you to anticipate all of this as one of those strong get inside type warnings. So for you, if that's a tornado warning and you don't really react to severe thunderstorm warnings, then a tornado warning it is. We want to make sure that you're staying safe, because the Doppler is indicating all of this line here capable of spinning up something fast. But guess what? Even if it's not the circular type of wind, we've seen straight line winds here. Let's go to the Shalian traffic cam, and you can see that that rain is coming down as well. And these are the things. Notice the street lights. They're trying to withstand this as well. And we've seen lots of power outages with this particular system as well. This is at Shalian. So this is, as this plowed through Kanawha County, it's now on the eastern end trying to move through. And this has been everyone's experience. We've been showing you as many pictures as we can from all around the region so that you know. Now, obviously, everybody's now in the same camp saying, okay, we saw it, we get it, but there are more to come.
Let me also add in, we just got some new information, because earlier we tried to show you a picture. We're going to get to that, of Fairland West Elementary School. And part of the roof is now missing from that school. It's gone. It got blown off. And the kids are not there. Just found out that it was spring break, so thank heaven no kids were in the building, but part of the roof is gone from Fairland West Elementary School.
And you could see this hitch in the radar presentation. Obviously, during the storm, we've been losing data as well, trying to gain it back. We've taken several power bumps. I know that you've been reporting to us when you can and can't see our station. This is why always having that weather app is very handy here. Once we're passing by this particular line of storms, notice the brightening of the skies. It's not necessarily a good thing, because it's going to allow the atmosphere to reload for the next line of storms. If we could just stay in clouds, that would be good. But remember, we were in clouds all morning, and yet this system was able to really slice right through with a lot of those gusty winds.
Charleston Airport just reported a wind gust of 60 miles an hour. I also have a report from ODOT where crews are responding to debris on State Route 141 in Lawrence County, Ohio, and the road is closed at this time.
Yeah, so you can see, I mean, when you're talking about Ohio, Kanawha County, we told you about Tri-State Airport, Boyd County. We've been tracking things south of Charleston as well. Everybody's in the same experience with this line coming through. And it almost looks like it's acquiring those derecho characteristics, that life of its own. You just wish to see really hot temperatures out ahead of it. You wouldn't think about it. You wouldn't think about it here with it not being 100 degrees type of heat. But at this point, nevertheless, you got this squall line of storms coming through. And Rob, I think you have an update for us.
I think we finally can show you some of those pictures, because these are dramatic. They are showing you, that's the sky. That is inside Fairland West Elementary School. That's a classroom. And if you look up, you see sky. You're not supposed to see that. That is how much of the roof has disappeared. You can't quite see in this shot. There's another shot showing you some of the debris around the school too. There's stuff on the floor. This thing jolted Fairland West Elementary School. And you know what? I didn't warn our folks that I wanted to do this, but we have an overhead shot inside our studio, because as Brandon and I have been talking here for the last hour and a half, 2 hours, we have had a whole team of WSAZ folks helping us out, because it is not just us. And if you take the overhead shot of our studio, there's Nick in the Weather Center. Hannah Hayes has not spoken a word, but she's back here diligently on a computer trying to get the latest information to us. We have our entire newsroom, which is not here in our studio, also relaying all this information to us. So I got to tell you, it's not just Brandon and Rob. We have a huge team trying to find out all of this. And we just got another picture. And let me show you another picture. And I'm sorry, South Point, Ohio, that is just a private residence. But look at the telephone pole. It snapped and came down right to the house. I can't tell that it damaged the house, but it looks like the whole pole is being supported by the power lines there. And you know that's the dangerous scenario of live power lines, then coming down in neighborhoods where people could easily drive over them, walk over them. That's where people get hurt. Please avoid those kinds of areas.
Yeah. And I would add to that, Rob, that when those power lines that are down, they're always considered live. Always consider them live. But when they're touching water, you can be far away from those poles and still get electrocuted if you're in that same area with that water conducting the electricity. And these kinds of pictures are things that we're going to be seeing on and on into the day, because I know a lot of folks are going to be, there's a lot of people that live along this line that could take pictures of storm damage and to be able to assess, was that a tornado? Was that straight line damage? I mean, that's for academic thoughts way beyond what we're dealing with right now. We just want folks to be safe here in Clay and Montgomery and Fayetteville. All these areas now are in tornado warnings, and that's just the philosophy of this line. Just put out tornado warnings in advance, because as this line sweeps through, it wouldn't be surprising at all to see these little swirl ups here of a brief tornado or those straight line winds. And again, it doesn't matter whether it was tornado or not. A 90-mile-an-hour straight line wind, a spiraling straight line wind of circular wind of 90 miles an hour, same thing as far as the damage. It doesn't necessarily matter. We want to make sure that you're being safe. So if you only wait for your antenna to raise if you hear tornado words, well, at this point, whatever we got to do to make sure that you're going to be staying inside during this event, even if it only lasts 10 minutes time. You can see these bright pink colors here. Those are Doppler indicated wind speeds. You see this chart? Going over toward really fast winds, that is where you're going to come up with those 80, 90 mile an hour winds that are rushing ahead of the storm. Sometimes we see this and we say that, you know what, that's a loft. It's not making it down to the surface. Well, guess what? We've been showing you dozens of pictures, dozens of cameras. We had our own experience here at the station where this line went through. Now remember, we're almost 30 minutes east of Charleston now. That's how quickly this line has progressed. So everybody's been seeing this. So we want to make sure that you're going to be staying safe in Gawley and Fayetteville, Babcock, Summersville, you know the way, all the way out to Richwood, which is still at least another half an hour away from reaching there. Here, that Route 19 corridor, do you notice it is mainly a north-south road? A lot of high-profile vehicles, that wind coming across, that's going to be problems here as you get to the afternoon. That can cause a lot of those trucks to be very unsteady here.
West Virginia Turnpike's not easy to drive on the best of days.
Yeah, that's the problem. And don't even talk about New River Gorge Bridge. I mean, these storms are coming in that direction.
You mentioned about 30 minutes ago that this felt like the same power as that derecho we had years ago that absolutely wiped out all three of our states of our region, and Illinois and Indiana and beyond. Is this a derecho? Does this qualify? What would be the difference? How do you figure that?
To me, the problem with using the word derecho is we've been attuned to hearing and only thinking about that storm back in 2012.
The National Weather Service in Charleston, West Virginia, has issued a tornado warning for southeastern Nicholas County in southeastern West Virginia, southeastern Connaught County in central West Virginia, northwestern Raleigh County in southeastern West Virginia, Fayette County in southeastern West Virginia, east central Boone County in central West Virginia, until 12:15 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. At 11:27 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, severe thunderstorms capable of producing both tornadoes and extensive straight-line wind damage were located along the line extending from 8 miles southwest of Marmet to near Madison to 8 miles west of Van, moving east at 70 miles per hour. Hazard, tornado. Source, radar-indicated rotation. Impact, flying debris will be dangerous to those caught without shelter. Mobile homes will be damaged or destroyed. Damage to roofs, windows, and vehicles will occur. Tree damage is likely. These dangerous storms will be near Montgomery, Smithers, Burnwell, and Powellton around 11:40 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Gawley Bridge around 11:45 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Fayetteville, Oak Hill, Anstead, and Hawks Nest State Park around 11:50 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Babcock State Park around noon Eastern Daylight Time. Other locations impacted by these tornadic storms include Dorothy, Thurmond, Whitesville, Nettie, and Mount Nebo.
Is going to be seen. We're going to be worried about power outages and how long do we have to assess the situation and clear the roads before the next system starts showing up. And this would be the thing that we're going to be watching into the afternoon, because you can see this is already flaring right back up with those showers and storms. Now they look a little disjointed, a little clustered, but at the same time you throw in a little extra heating. The prime hours of a usual day for storm formation, 2 o'clock p.m. to 7 p.m. We're not even there. This is rare to have happen in the morning hours, and yet that's where we are. Now, we're still watching this storm system. Let's see where that front line is right now, and that leading edge of those rain showers. And again, remember, just tornado warnings all the way down the line to protect with those fast wind speeds to deliver that message that you want to be inside. We're seeing it from just east of Spencer along Route 33, heading over toward, say, Gilmer County, all the way down through Clay. Clay right now, the Wallback area, certainly getting their share of those gusty winds. And they have the tornado warning as well. Down south toward Montgomery, crossing, see, there's Route 19, New River Gorge Bridge right in here, heading over towards Somersville. This whole mass is going to be coming at you within 20 minutes. So that's why we want to make sure you're hunkered down for that. And a lot of schools have made a decision, just shelter in place. And guess what? You only need to do it for that amount of time. And then afterwards, it gets a lot easier. So you can see the timing here where this system is moving so quickly. We could be at the West Virginia border here by about midday, if not a little bit thereafter. But this continues down south toward Fayetteville, over toward Whitesville as well. You can see Webster Springs, 1214. That'll be when it's out of our reach. And essentially, Richwood at about 1207 would be the last county, the last town in our last county to be out of here with those showers. But that's just this line. Remember, we're talking about going to another reloading of the atmosphere to bring it back in later on. And that just says nothing about the damage assessments, what is out there as far as lost power is concerned, where the cleanup needs to be. And you only have this narrow window before the next line of storms starts to form and comes at us here. So that's why we're in that zone for strong storm formation that we were warning you about, essentially with those first the first alert weather days all the way going into last week. This was going to be the culmination of several days in a row of this inclement weather, Rob. And it looks like that we may try to see this first one to the exits, but we're not done before the next one comes in.
Let me take a moment and backtrack and start showing you some of those pictures we've had again that we've been showing you throughout the day, because it gives you the sense of the power. And again, we had one reading of 128-mile-an-hour wind gust reported in Huntington. That is, no, that was Boyd County. I apologize. 92 miles an hour in Huntington. And that just tells you the power of that rain blowing sideways, like here in Lawrence County, Ohio. This is just to the north of Ironton. That is just going sideways and showing just waves of rain. And then 10 minutes later, it wasn't raining. And then 10 minutes later, it was raining again. And that's kind of the way this has gone. This is that shot we showed you of a breadfruit pear tree collapsing and falling apart, crashing right onto, unfortunately, a parked car on 5th Avenue in downtown Huntington near 7th Street. And again, this is just a problem we have had over and over. We did, and I know we're trying to show it to you. Trust me, we've been trying to fight through technical problems too when the power keeps getting knocked out, showing you some of these trees that are down. As I show you this is a top 5th Street hill in Huntington. I also want to remind you, 31st Street Bridge in Huntington closed because the wind was so powerful, it knocked a box truck over on its side up against the retaining wall of the bridge. Fortunately, it did not go into the Ohio River down below, but nonetheless, it's clogging all the traffic on the 31st Street Bridge. This Fairland West Elementary School, which is, give or take, Proctorville, Ohio. And this has lost part of its roof. That is a classroom that you're looking at. We were told, fortunately, they're on spring break. And so no students were in the building when that happened. But nonetheless, you're seeing the sky from their hallways. And that is going to require some serious repair work work to get them back in school. This may become an elongated spring break or a moving around spring break. Oh, finally, that is the 31st Street Bridge. You see the dramatic spires in the middle, in the background of that shot? Look to the right. That's the truck lying on its side, blown over in this wind. And it was that powerful that it just knocked it off its tires and put it up against the retaining wall. And again, on the retaining wall. Let me go to where, I'm sorry?
Greenup County, Kentucky.
Greenup County, Kentucky. Ah, okay, that's a new shot we hadn't been able to show before. Boy, that's another big tree that came down there.
Yeah, we've been watching this again, and this goes to show you the long track nature of this line of storms. And we were looking at the potential for individual cells, those supercells, to be those long track storms too. But we got a squall line. I want to show you something interesting here with the Doppler estimated rainfall. Not only some areas got that estimation of 2 to 3 inches, but the reason why this looks really interesting with these cuts like this is because the radar sweep takes 5 minutes to come back around again to get a good assessment. But we've been talking to you about this storm moving at about 60 miles an hour. So we'll end up seeing those fast rain amounts. It's hard to assess how much that's happened. Let's actually go. I want to go back to that Boyd County because we just got another picture coming in of a house that, Rob, this looks like it's split in half.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, it may be a modular scenario here where those where it kind of was put together in the first place. It's on Rose Road in Boyd County. And remember, we said earlier that Boyd County measured a wind speed of almost upwards of 100 miles an hour.
128 miles an hour in
Could
Boyd
be more. Yeah, so you're looking at the kind of damage that you would say, oh, well, that must have been a tornado. Well, you've got to figure out whether it was straight line or rotating winds that went through. But if you look at this structure, some of the roof looks like it's intact on the one side and maybe not the other. You got to see that the quality of construction may play a role in this as well. But
this is also happening so fast.
Yeah.
Well, again, we're trying to verify information. Every single emergency crew is getting swamped right now. So we're telling you about crashes on I-64 and the 31st Street Bridge in Huntington and all kinds of things happening. Houses getting torn. We don't know if anyone's been hurt. There is a high likelihood, if we've seen this kind of wind and this many problems, we're probably looking at some people being hurt here. But right now, we've not heard of anyone being hurt. If you're getting word of something, let us know so that we can mention that. But for right now, we look like we've been fortunate on the injury front.
To that point, Rob, Nick's been looking at a lot of the reports that have been coming in, and I think he's got some updates for us here too. As we look at let's look at the New River Gorge camera while Nicholas is going to be telling us about what's going on.
Yeah, so in Greenup County, Kentucky, we have reports of multiple trees down in multiple locations in the eastern part of Greenup County. That comes from the 911 call center. We also had a report out of Wayne County where a tree was across a home, I believe. Hannah, is that correct over there? Yeah, a tree across a home. And we also had a report, I believe, multiple reports of wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour at Charleston. So at least those have come down since they've gone through Huntington. Do want to also mention they've canceled the tornado warning out of Kanawha County, out of Jackson County. This is now mainly over those eastern locations. I'm sure Brandon could have a lot more to say about that.
That stands to reason. Again, we're really following that main line of squall line activity for where those tornado warnings are, because the idea is you got to stay safe because these winds are super fast. 80, 90 mile an hour reports have already come in, and that line is approaching the Summersville area along Route 19. And again, right now it is crossing the New River Gorge Bridge. We're trying to show you that earlier. Would not be surprised if we've lost that camera trying to get that action. But the Anstead area, Fayetteville, Oak Hill, that would be where those strongest winds are coming through now. And it's not often that you get so many of these tornado warnings, but they're really performing a duty of telling you to stay inside, to stay safe, even if it's for just this little zone right in here, because those winds are really fast. And really, the last time we did this kind of thing was with derecho-type storms coming through, because they have the same life cycle to be able to keep themselves alive, as they literally have traversed our entire market. And you can see 11:42 before the morning hours here, before noon. So essentially, in 3 hours hours' time, it's crossed our region. But look at these purple colors here. Those are wind gusts that are at the front end here, all blowing away from the radar center. You're looking at 88 miles an hour. I mean, DeLorean-type speed there going through all the way up Route 19. And there's just a lot to deal with here. And everybody's been seeing it. So we're going to start seeing reports trickle in. A lot of times, obviously, everyone hunkers down, and then after the threat subsides, you go and see what happens. We may be flooded with dozens of more pictures of all around the area, so if you wonder why your area may have not gotten a picture shown or a scene videotaped, it's because they're still coming in hard and fast, and a lot of times in the areas that the action is happening right now, we want everybody to be hunkered down. We want everyone to not be out there trying to get some good weather shots kind of thoughts. And then as we get into it, then we can see what has transpired. And surely, given that sweep of rain, of winds, that we're going to be seeing more and more pictures and more after effects, power outages, cancellations, closings, and things of that nature going on into the rest of the afternoon.
Brandon, let me just tell you, a couple of people have, lots of people have been writing us, and we haven't been able to get all the info on. But, viewer like, this is Carla Cashman. I don't know Carla, a viewer. She's watching us, saying that there is a campground in the Hanging Rock area, the Hanging Rock campground. They got hammered by this, and she says it's just a disaster area. Ethan Blevins saying, yep, and this is almost the same area, Haverhill, got hammered, trees down, lots of debris around, and that's just one of many. A lot of you all have been sending us info, and we appreciate that. We're trying to send our crews out to where you're telling us it's been bad. As we just took another power hit here at the station, and we're trying to verify those things too, trying to get some video so that later we'll be able to show you some of this video, but keep sending in those notes. We appreciate them.
Yeah, we're not ignoring anyone. It's just so widespread that it's hard to even assess all the pictures as they're coming in so fast. And we'll be continuing to watch this zone right in here. Those are the fast winds. I want to show you the radar too, to show you those heavy rains that are going to be progressing. Now, it is moving toward the eastern half of our region. So the good news is everybody in the Charleston area on westward, you're going to be all right. It's still raining. You may still hear rumbles of thunder, but the fast winds that we're warning about in terms of all these tornado warnings, severe thunderstorm warnings, that is in the east here. So those folks are where all the trouble spots still are. Back here, this is the okay zone, if you will, but you really like to be where the rain is stopped, west of Kentucky. So we're going to be talking now about the billboard that has come down on I-64. Rob, I
wonder if this wasn't the one we mentioned earlier, but I'm not positive. I'm wondering if we don't have multiple billboards down, because I'm getting reports of it in a few different areas, and I'm thinking it's the same one, but maybe this is multiple billboards have been blown. They would be kind of like a sail in the wind, and that wind was fierce enough to just knock them off their stilts and bring down whole billboards. But this latest one, and again, tell me where this latest one was.
I believe it's I-64.
Okay.
Remember, anything that faces north-south. So if you think about it, a lot of the highway traffic here goes east-west, parallel on I-64. So if the billboards want to face you, what way do they orient? Right as the wind is coming at you. So I would not be surprised to see a lot of stress been put on many billboards on any of those east-west roads. And then, of course, when you're talking about north-south traffic, that is for the semis, the Big Macs that could end up falling in that wind as well.
Where are we going next? This looks like the worst of it's pushing to the eastern edge of our coverage area. You've been saying this is not the end of it. No. Where are we going next?
We're essentially going to go through a quieter period of what would be called reloading of the atmosphere, where you may even see that sunshine come out as well, but it's not the end, because we actually have the storm system fostering all this. In this fast-moving pattern aloft, what ends up happening is you get these lines of thunderstorms that develop, and then they take over. They go on their own power, racing to the east out ahead of that front. Well, that front is still out to the west. What is it going to do? Continue to stir up mischief, and there'll be more of those developing so long as the air ahead has not been too worked over. And in our case, you would think it's been worked over, but it moves so quickly that you have this quieter period here. Notice the tornado watch box has not been taken down by the Storm Prediction Center, so it still expects this whole region to be ripe for the taking for more storms. And we were tracking early this morning tornado warnings in the Louisville area. They continue to move all the way through our region. Well, what's going on now? You've got new thunderstorms developing to the west of Louisville, heading eastward. This area remains in a heightened risk zone from the Storm Prediction Center for that severe weather thought. But we ourselves are in one of the core spots of the highest risk zones, and you don't really see that too often when we're talking about this kind of an atmosphere, and certainly not in the morning. A lot of times we were talking about this kind of thing during the peak heating hours of the afternoon. Well, that's still coming, so I wouldn't be surprised that if we're right back on the same footing in the afternoon, even if it's for individual cells rather than these big lines of cells. So let's go talk about our local region and see where that line of thunderstorms are right now. And we can talk about that threat. You can see there's still some active tornado warnings along this line, but there's also severe thunderstorm warnings, essentially pacing that whole region. Now, Rob, I believe we want to go to a reporter, Curtis.
We're finally getting some of our reporters out in the field, and Curtis Johnson is live out in the Charleston area. Curtis, what are you seeing? And tell us where you are. I'm afraid his microphone isn't working, and I apologize, because look at the debris he was showing. As a matter of fact, can we keep that up, that live report, even if we can't hear it? Because that was clearly showing a building, and I apologize, I don't know what building that is, but that is clearly Charleston. 1013 Quarrier Street is the address on that building, and that looks like part of the facade just came down from that building in downtown Charleston. And I apologize, we've lost his signal, but our photographer now thinks they're off the air. Bear with us, but they're showing us whole chunks of the building are missing. And that would be that 90-mile-an-hour wind that we saw go through Charleston. Remember when we were showing you the weather cameras and we just took a hit again. Sorry, it jolts me every time. And when we were showing you those Charleston weather cameras where it just made Charleston disappear and then reappear, that's when those 90-plus-mile-an-hour winds were going through, and then everything cleared back up again. Now we're getting another round of rain, but it's not as blinding a situation in Charleston.
Yeah, that camera's definitely frozen. That Charleston one,
Charleston
we
one
lost
isn't working.
Yeah, we tried to show you right as the worst of it was coming through, and it looked very impressive. And then all of a sudden, it went to something that was 3 hours earlier.
Still exists.
Yeah, we'll see what happened with that. But this is that arcing line of high, fast radar echoes showing those fast winds still progressing through our region. Richwood is right here in the Cherry River Valley, so we still got a ways to go before it is through. But it's moving so quickly that it will be within the next half hour that line continues to progress here. So that's why you still have that tornado warning. And remember, this is all radar indicated because of these winds. Whether they're straight line or rotating or not, it doesn't matter. We need you to stay safe and stay inside until this whole line goes through. Now, everybody upstream of that, or downstream, as that has passed by, you end up in a much easier set here where you're going to be seeing lighter rain, still looking at some rumbles of thunder as well, but it's not going to be as difficult, Rob, to deal with.
I got to do this, and I apologize for butting in on him. You've been talking for 2 hours. Take a sip of water while I talk for a second, because we are momentarily going to go to our midday newscast, continuing our coverage of this severe weather. But he's been talking so long, I knew he needed a sip of water. I've been taking a sip, and I've not been on it. So please continue.
Yeah, no, thank you very much. And really, one of the things that I wanted to point out in that live shot that Curtis was in is that after those strong storms go through, you still saw some rain, but you saw a lot of debris, and the only folks that were out were the emergency crews. That's a really good thing, because we want to make sure they have the time and space to get to where they need to, and potentially even the people they need to get to, because you're not quite done with everything. It's still going to be raining. You may still hear some thunder, so I would still stay put until you get the all clear from emergency management. But as far as the tornado warning type thought, right now, Kanawha Valley westward, you're safe from that. You're still going to hear some thunder. You're still going to see some rain. But if you're thinking of going out on the roadways, let the road crews, let the emergency crews first get out there to see what's going on. We don't want too many onlookers here preventing them from getting to where they need to be. But then west of there, Huntington, west westward toward Grayson, you're looking like it's okay. You can get outside into your own yards and start tackling the trees that are down, the problems that you may have. We're even seeing some sunshine right now. How about that? Sunshine and Huntington looking westward. But this, as great as it may seem after what we've been through, it's not a good thing as far as the future, because this is going to not only allow us time to clean up, it's going to allow the atmosphere time to reload. And that is going to lead to the next severe weather risk as we get on into the afternoon off toward our west here. And hopefully, as you can see, the first one went through with a lot of gusto. This next one will have the extra advantage of a lot more heat in the equation, sun angle a lot higher, and you're starting to see these individual cells start to form. And those supercells are often the ones that cause a lot of mischief here. We've sometimes seen them in the form of fronts like we did this morning, but we could have these discrete individual cells causing problems as well. And this is not in our region just yet, but they are progressing toward the east, and we will end up seeing them. You see, this is I-65, so you still got time, but you may only have about, say, 3 hours, 4 hours time before we end up having to do that. And you may hear other mics going on at the same time.
We're still trying to get Curtis to talk to us live on the air. Sorry.
And remember, we're trying to prepare for our midday show that we're trying to do as well. We've got reporters out in the field. There's lots going on with a still active weather pattern. I know most of our region is in the clear here, out of the reach of those tornado-warned storms. But off to the west, you still got more to go through, and this is the nature of this scenario. Sometimes you can have these lines of storms just run right out ahead, and then what follows is still a very active weather environment to sustain new storms when they form. So that's what we'll be watching during the afternoon. Again, this right here is because we lost signal for a little while in that severe weather, but the early line now, the last line that we were watching is currently moving through Route 19 at this hour, and it's going to be progressing eastward on State Route 39 toward the Richwood area and the Cherry River Valley. And you can see after that line goes through, there's not a lot of colors in here that would indicate severe weather, but you still have the yellows that indicate steady rain, some rumbles of thunder in there that are more of a mundane variety. And it's going to saturate the ground and lead us more vulnerable for the next storm system, whether it brings severe weather or not. It could still lead to flash flooding. So there's just a lot to deal with here as that line of storms comes through. But it does look like right now, approaching Sutton, passing Summersville, heading over toward Richwood, getting down south the turnpike toward Beckley, trying to get to all corners here as it finishes out. We're even seeing the Pikeville area get into some of these storms, but the worst of it was definitely to your north. You can see that trailing end. I think by the time we're done with this, everyone's going to have had a turn. So this is good prep work to get into the habit here. Now, some of you may lose power in these storms. Know that there's another line coming. So later on in the afternoon, don't let your guard down if you see this wonderful slit of sunshine come in between, because it's only going to allow these new storms ample room to fire up and become mischievous, potentially on their own. I mean, so far we haven't seen any of these turn into anything other than an ordinary thunderstorm. But if we do get these supercells, just like that squall line, they have the potential to be long track type systems as well. And we'll be watching this whole region as we get on to the afternoon. Again, we still have our midday programming to talk about, of course, as well. I'm hearing that we're going to go to Shannon.
Shannon Litton, where are you right now in the midst of this storm?
I'm technically in Hanging Rock, Ohio. I have been trying to send you guys pictures. Unfortunately, the service here is very sparse because of the storm that has hit. I'm looking at things that I have never seen before in areas of southern Ohio. I'm looking at a barn right now that's basically gone. I've been looking at down trees, down playgrounds around the area in the north end of Ironton, not seeing at all any. A lot of people are out of power at this point, down power lines through here as well. There are reports that one of the main bars in Hanging Rock, the laid back, is gone. I can't confirm that at this time. I haven't been able to make it down there because there are AEP crews trying to restore power, but there are down lines in between houses. Like I said, I'm looking at a barn right now that's, it's not going to be salvageable. They're just going to have to take this completely out of here. So we're just trying to figure out exactly the extent of this damage here. I can tell you the people are outside. They seem to be safe. People themselves are safe. But
Shannon, is
whatever ripped through here
right now?
has caused significant damage.
Shannon, is it raining on you right now?
It is not. It's actually sunny right now. It's
Yeah.
very sunny. It's warm outside. And just to look at the damage around here, it's honestly unbelievable. I'm not trying to sound to be sensationalist about this at all. It's just this is not something people have ever seen in God knows how many years, more than 20, 30 years, if more. But there's damage to roofs on people's houses. There are down trees. There are down power lines. People are without power. And I'm impressed. I'm impressed that this phone call's even going through because, like I said, I can't send emails. I can't send pictures. I could barely make any contact with the newsroom just trying to get a hold of you guys.
That sounds exactly like what those two viewers who did text me were saying. They were Facebook messaging me, and that was all they could get through as well. And we got reference almost kind of where you are, that there was a campground in the Haverhill Hanging Rock area that may have been hard hit too. I don't know how close you are to that, but that might be worth looking into as well, Shannon.
That sounds, Rob, it sounds, and you're cutting out a little bit too because I know I hope you guys can hear me too, but it definitely sounds like I'm near that. I'm going to try to go down there now. There is a lot of traffic through here on 2nd Street, which is honestly, it's odd for Arlington to see this much traffic unless the Memorial Day Parade is going on. But it's because of so many people that are leaving work and are trying to get to their loved ones to make sure everyone is okay. Like I said, it's just a lot of limbs, tree limbs all over the roads and yards, and, of course, even a little bit of just water over the grass as well. I don't want to call it flooding, but, just the ponding water on the grass. So the rain definitely came down through here. The wind damage has been significant, to say the very least.